morning, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Reading. Welcome to summer services. My name is Roald Wilson, and I'll be your service leader this morning. I'm also the summer music director. I've been doing summer music here since, I think, the late Cretaceous period, I believe. And I'm happy to be up here preaching at you this morning, which is somewhat curious because I'm really not a preacher by trade, nor am I a philosopher or a psychologist or a therapist, nor did I major in poetry or political science or sociology. In fact, I'm not really famous for anything. I'm not really particularly successful. I'm not really particularly mature, to be perfectly honest. So why am I up here reading you your business this morning? Well, I think the reason is because in our faith tradition, everybody's voice matters. Everybody's voice counts. And as it turns out, I'm part of everybody.
Good morning, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Reading, or UUCR. I'm Rob Craig Coleman, a member of the worship arts team and the coordinator for the summer services this year. My pronouns are he, him, and his. I want to welcome you to worship this morning, welcome you into our church home, and welcome you to our online church community. We welcome you whether you are gay or straight, cisgendered, queer gender, or you choose to name your own gender. We welcome you whether you need a handicap placard or whether you hoist your own particular political placard. We welcome you for whatever makes you unique, makes you proud, or makes you feel special. We welcome you from down the street, the next town over, from the other side of the country, or even from the other side of the world. We may be apart by location, but we are close together in spirit and beloved community. And today, this Sunday of the weekend of our national birthday, we welcome you at this time when you, as we all are, reflecting upon the historic roots of our country. The parts of our history for which we are justly proud, as well as the parts that are a source of shame. This year, as much as any year, we have much to honor and much to repent. May this weekend, this time in community, be a time for gathering renewed strength for this journey of celebration and reflection and healing. After the service, we usually have a time of gathering for sharing and connecting a bit more directly through small group Zoom conversations. Zoom conversation is not available today, sadly. It's the one part of our recent community activities that we are still figuring out how to carry forward into the summer. It will be back next week, and we are hoping and feel pretty confident that it'll be there for the rest of the summer. So just enjoy this Sunday off. Maybe it'll be time to be a little bit more with your loved ones. And finally, I want to tell you something. You are welcome here because you belong here. Maybe just for the next hour, but we hope for longer. You are welcome here, and we are glad you are here. We are all glad we are here this morning in community.
The flaming chalice is the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith, and lighting it each week is a rekindling of that faith shared with our larger UU community. Lighting this, our chalice, lovingly created by one of our members, Aaron Patterson, is a rekindling of our shared faith at the heart of this, our beloved community. And many of you out there will light a candle or a chalice of your own. And as we light all of these chalices, even the ones in our hearts, let us imagine the flame kindled here will be holding a spark from all of these chalices. Now please join with me in saying our chalice lighting words. In the light of truth, the warmth of community, the fire of commitment, we gather this day. May the flame we now kindle be to us a symbol of the holiness we see.
We utter our cry that peace may prevail, that earth will survive, and faith must not fail. We pray with our life for the world and in our care, for people diminished by doubt and despair. We cry from the fright of our daily scene, for strength to say no to all that is mean, designs bearing chaos, extinction of life, all energy wasted on weapons of death. We lift up our hearts for children unborn. Give wisdom, O God, that we may hand on, replenished and tended this good planet Earth, preserving the future and wonder of
At a time in the past, at this point in the service, we would light a candle of community to recognize and honor those who weren't able to be physically with us here in community. Now in this time, this morning, I light this candle of community. It will honor our coming together in spirit and spirituality. And in that spirit, I invite you into a place of reflection or meditation in whatever fashion you find most comfortable. I invite you to sit back, maybe ease your gaze, and settle comfortably into whatever or whoever is holding you right now. Let your breathing be easy, gentle, and natural. And maybe take note of your breath, its rhythm, its sound, its feeling. Maybe settle into its rhythm and let go of the busy thoughts in your mind. This is the 4th of July weekend. Maybe you had some personal fireworks, or maybe your neighbor did. Probably you are aware, sensitive to the fact that you did not attend public fireworks this year, that they didn't happen. Maybe that makes you glad. Maybe that makes you sad. Whatever you feel about this, put yourself present. Now I invite you to let go at least just a little bit of your thoughts and feelings about man-made fireworks. And I invite you to let come into your mind a warm, gentle summer evening. And now let that evening be decorated by nature's fireworks. Recall and imagine the subtle ground display of fireflies. I invite you to recall and imagine the still subtle but slightly more awesome display of a cloudless, dark, star-filled sky, the only haze coming from the Milky Way. And now I invite you to recall and imagine the still more awesome sight of that star-filled sky, streaked with the brief and sometimes spectacular tail of a shooting star, and then many shooting stars. And then recall and imagine nature's finale, a summer thunder shower with lightning bolts that briefly illuminate everything in an eerie white light, accompanied by the boom of thunder, sometimes even more stunning than the boom of any human-made firework. And as the quiet settles back over you, I invite you to call into the scene the faces of those you love, but perhaps have had to be distant from. Linger for a moment on the features. And now I invite you to call into the scene members of this community from whom you've had to be more distant for a while. Linger then for a moment on their features, one after another. Much like the fireflies, let their faces wink in and out of your mind. And into that display, I invite you to consider the features of any members of our community who are recovering from or struggling with surgery, impending surgery, or illness. And also call into your mind the features of those who love them, who likewise are struggling with that recovery or that illness. Holding all of these features and faces in your mind, I invite you to return to your breathing through the vehicle of your breathing. Return into community for the next part of our service.
Like many of you, I have quite a few friends on Facebook who live in other countries. People I've never met and probably never will, but folks that I've had some really great conversations with online. I've noticed, though, in the last couple of years, and especially lately, they almost seem to be kind of talking down to me a little bit. Like they're using shorter sentences and no complicated run-on sentence or complex structures. They're shorter vocabulary words. They don't mess around with analogies or metaphors. Or they seem concerned that I'm getting stupider. Our reading this morning is from a song by Randy Newman, a song titled, "I'd Like to Say a Few Words in Defense of Our Country." I'd like to say a few words in defense of our country, whose people aren't bad, nor are they mean. Now, our leaders are bad. They're the worst that we've ever had, but they're hardly the worst this poor world has ever seen. I mean, you take your Caesars, for example. Let's take a little walk through the pages of history, shall we? Caesars, why, they're sleeping with their sisters, they're stashing little boys in swimming pools, they're burning down the city. One of them appointed his own horse to be consul of the empire. That's like vice president or something. I mean, and then you got your Dark Ages and your Spanish Inquisition and potato famine. I mean, let's not even start on that. I just still want to say a few words in defense of our country. Now, our time at the top may very well be coming to an end. We don't really expect other countries' love. Respect at this point is pretty much out of the question. But man, it would be really nice just to have a friend, you know? Hitler, Stalin, men who need no introduction. King Leopold of Belgium. That's right. Everybody thinks he was so great. Well, he owned the Congo, and you know what he did? He trashed it. He tore it up. He took all the diamonds. He took the silver. He took the gold. You know what he left him with? Malaria. A president once said, "The only thing we have to fear is fear itself." Now we're supposed to be afraid. It's patriotic. It's color-coded. And what are we supposed to be afraid of? We're supposed to be afraid of being afraid. That's what terror means, doesn't it? At least that's what it used to mean. Hell, Pluto's not even. So I wasn't real sure what this service was going to be about. I certainly had some ideas, but I kept changing my mind as if there hasn't been enough change to deal with. I remember a friend telling me some years ago, a minister actually, telling me that the best sermons were usually the sermon that the person preaching really needed to hear. I asked a number of friends in the last couple of weeks, what kind of service should I do? What would really be of some use to the congregation? What would people like? And I got some just really terrific advice, which I declined to heed. They said to me, do a music service. You're a musician. Yeah, do something fun. Come on. Tell some jokes. Do something silly. Come on. Do something uplifting. This is no time to read us the riot act. This is no time to afflict the comfortable. This is still dead smack center in the middle of comfort the afflicted time. But the problem with that, honestly, is that I don't think I could get through presenting a service without acknowledging the elephants in the room. I'm pretty filled with doubts at this point. I'm pretty torn. I'm really not sure if what I need is help finding a happy place, or whether what I really need is a little shove outside my comfort zone to get me evolving a little bit more quickly. I'm not sure if what we really need is a break, is to cut ourselves some slack because we've been dealing with so much, or whether what we really need is to maybe admit that we're just a little bit spoiled, that maybe we are children of privilege. A goal for me in the last couple months has been trying to find some balance between, come on, get up, get something done today, and this has been a heck of a week. It's okay, go ahead and sleep in a little more. I'm trying to find some balance between a liturgical equivalent of a dunk in cold water and a big pastoral warm fuzzy. Many of you don't know this, but I think a lot of folks know that I studied music in college. Many folks probably don't have any idea that I minored in making mountains out of molehills. Yeah, I can take a small little nothing burger of a worry and I can just fluff it up into a giant lather of dramatic, hysterical, paranoid worry. And so in January, when the news of coronavirus first started appearing on the news, I was just like all over it. I was like, oh, yep, another Great Depression for sure. And I was certainly worried about the disease itself, but I was pretty darn sure that things were going to get really freaky. And I was pretty sure that my income was going to dry up. Because as a music teacher and a musician that pretty much only does acoustic instruments, I had no idea how you could possibly maintain a piano studio online. But I didn't see any other reasonable path forward, and so I started learning. I figured out how to set all the advanced audio settings in Zoom. I'm getting way better with music notation software. I'm getting way better with recording stuff in GarageBand. I'm figuring out how to turn files into MP4s and attach a link through Google Drive. And right about when I finally got comfortable teaching online, then the semester ended and it was time for church services, and I had to start learning a whole bunch of other technical stuff, and I'm still learning. But I quickly realized if music online is the future, and I haven't been teaching my students any of that stuff, I've been gypping them. I've been sending them out into a competitive marketplace ill-equipped. And so in many ways, the adjustment to all the changes has almost certainly made me a better teacher. So let's review. Let's see where we're at this point in the service. So the basic message, it would appear, is going to be, if life gives you lemons, make lemonade. Really, we're going the Pollyanna route? Everything will be fine. Look on the bright side. Always look on the bright. That happy attitude worked really well for me for a couple of weeks. I could have just gone into a funk and gone into a deep depression, and that would have been the end of story. But I really got focused on getting my lessons online, and for a couple of weeks, my attitude stayed pretty good. But unfortunately, my crappy attitude evolved. It developed an immunity to that cheerful lemonade out of lemons outlook. And so I had to figure out some other carrot, some other mantra to hang on to, some other goal, some other coping mechanism emotionally to get through everything that was going on. So once I realized that cheerful, optimistic look on the bright side, oh gosh, I'm going to learn so much from all these challenges life is throwing at me. Once I kind of realized I was going to get jaded on that, I kind of knew I had to come up with some other motivation, some other carrot, some other thing to keep me looking forward. And it wasn't too hard for me to figure out what that was going to be. I've been distressed for quite a while, horrified to be honest, about the pervasive, toxic dishonesty in our culture. And I'm not talking about one political persuasion or one election cycle or one corporation. It's everywhere. I'll just go to the grocery store, go to the juice aisle, look at how many of the containers say 100% juice with added ingredients. Or turn on the sports channel and listen to them talking about giving 110%, 8 days a week, 25 hours a day. Reality counts for something. And what kept me really determined to survive coronavirus and figure out how to earn my living and make my way in this new reality was the desire just to stay alive so that I can bear witness to what really happened at this point in our country's history. Because I strongly suspect that some folks are going to do their darndest to fib about what really happened. I recently read some words that were overheard by a journalist when she was visiting a friend's house. Her friend's teenage son was just getting ready to receive his first driver's license. This was a young black man ready to receive his first driver's license. And the mom told the son, if you get stopped by cops, survive the encounter. Worry about your rights and your liberty later. And that horrified me to think that a parent would feel compelled to tell their kids, set the bar low. Don't expect to be treated like a full citizen. Just survive. And I realized that for myself, just surviving so I could tell the truth later wasn't enough for me to really dig deeply into life. And I thought about how wounded so many of us are right now about all the things that we had to give up, all the things that were lost. Think about all the people that miss going to restaurants or going to a movie or playing with their friends, or just so many of the things that were part of the fabric of every day of our life has been ripped away from us now. And you see what that's done to people after a number of months. Stop and think what it must do to people if your life has been ripped away, your freedom, your ability to go anywhere you want or interact with whomever you want. Imagine if that was torn away from you, not for a matter of months, but for centuries. Think where your head would be. You probably see where I'm going with this. I remember after the murder of Philando Castile, black man that was shot in his car, basically died because he had a tail light out and a cop was frightened and felt in danger. I thought that had to be a turning point. That seemed like such cold-blooded murder. I thought the same thing after Sandy Hook. I thought, this is a turning point. I've thought that about George Floyd. It seems like this is a turning point. But this time it does really feel different, and I think some of it may be because those of us who have had privilege have suffered and felt the pain of loss. That's almost worked like a booster shot for our empathy. By having our empathy ignited a bit, I think we've been more receptive to the horror that has been a person of color's life in this society for centuries. My fear is that that booster shot that's built our empathy might not be very long lasting. I'm concerned that once theaters are open and beaches are open and shopping's open, and once we all get bread and circus again, that fire in our bellies for justice, for those of us that have enjoyed privilege most of our lives, that fire may go out. And that worries me terribly. And so for a while, I was really clinging to my anger. I was really angry for quite a few weeks. I was angry about just about everything. I was short-tempered when I was driving my car, hollering at other motorists. I was just frustrated with everything. And I know that that anger, if it spurs me to social action, if it turns into change, it's a strength. But of course, I also know that if I hang on to it permanently, it's a toxin, and at some point, I have to release it. And I certainly don't want to just be an angry person for the rest of my life. But for at least a stretch of time, anger worked as my motivating fuel. I had reached a point where I realized that just looking for silver linings wasn't going to give me enough meaning to keep me moving forward. And of course, I realized that a goal of just staying alive so that I could testify in the future or fight for liberty or justice in the future, that was too low a bar. That wouldn't keep me moving forward. And it occurred to me that if for me to have enough empathy so that I can just be a basic, decent human being and demand justice, if I had to stay in a constant state of discomfort to have that amount of empathy, I've got a problem there with moving forward. And I certainly realized if I had to stay angry and stay filled with righteous indignation to keep looking forward, that's not going to work, because that anger is going to slowly dissolve me from the inside out. What has finally settled as the carrot that keeps me moving forward is that I am determined to continue to have faith. And I want to tell you what I mean by faith, because what I mean by faith might not be what most other folks mean. In the same way that if I say I believe in God, I'm probably not talking about the same definition of God that most other people would use. When I talk about having faith, well, let me talk about a couple of the 7 principles. The interdependent web of all life, that's not an article of faith to me. That's just obvious scientific reality. In fact, most of our 7 principles don't make sense to me as points in a faith tradition, because it doesn't seem like those require any particular faith. They're just obvious truths, obvious functional realities. The inherent dignity and worth of every person, however, my life experiences, the evidence that's been presented to me, is not 100% conclusive. And that's where my faith comes in. Faith for me is not the absence of doubt. It's not something that gives me certainty. Faith is the ability to stand up in the face of doubt, in the same way that courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is the strength to stand up to our deepest fear. I have faith in the inherent dignity and worth of every person. And I have faith that things are going to get a lot better. I don't have proof. And the evidence about whether we're headed up or down is a little inconclusive. I have doubts, but I have faith.
Taking up an offering is a spiritual practice, just as is prayer or acts of consecration. Our spirit of giving is deepened by the sharing of our plate with organizations that give to those who are in need of our support. Bread and Roses will continue as the Share Our Plate recipient throughout the summer because of the devastating impact of the coronavirus on Lawrence, which means that Bread and Roses is dealing with unprecedented demand. Bread and Roses is a soup kitchen located in the center of Lawrence, Mass, known as the Immigrant City. Bread and Roses was founded 40 years ago, and their primary purpose is to ease hunger in their community. UUCR has been supporting Bread and Roses since 2012 by providing the meal for the first Saturday of every month. UUCR members buy the ingredients, and the meal is prepared in UUCR's kitchen by a team of UUCR volunteers. Several congregation members also go to Lawrence to help sort donations 3 to 4 times a month. And about once a year, our youth group bakes cookies for Bread and Roses. So you can see our connection to Bread and Roses runs very deep. Now, due to the coronavirus, there is no longer a way to safely serve communal meals. So Bread and Roses now utilizes its 2 outreach vans to deliver bulk food and meals to churches and agencies serving the most vulnerable in Lawrence. The need is greater than ever. So please, give generously to our Sunday Share the Plate offering to support both the mission of UUCR and to support Bread and Roses. Here's how you can contribute to our Share the Plate offering. Online, use your bank's bill pay feature, and if possible, write Share the Plate in the memo field or account number field. You can go to uureading.org/connection/donate and select Weekly Offering Share the Plate Fund. And you can pay by check. Please write Share the Plate again in the memo field and mail your check to the church, Unitarian Universalist Church of Reading, 239 Woburn Street, Reading, Mass. 01867. We know that your offering will be given generously, and you know that it will be gratefully received.
extinguish our chalice, and those with chalices at home extinguish yours. Join together in saying our chalice extinguishing words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts.
Don't be afraid of some change. Change is going to come whether you resist it or whether you welcome it with open arms. Keep your eyes and your ears open and stay alive to testify. The younger generation is going to need to hear some truth, and we are the eyewitnesses, and our voices matter. Remember that all of the suffering and all of the struggles, all of the dangers, toils, and snares, those can build our empathy the same way resistance training with a weight builds our muscles. No justice, no peace. Well, no empathy, no justice. Don't be afraid of your anger. It may be your strength. Don't hang on to it forever. Turn it into action and then set it free. Hang on to your faith. It may prove to be misplaced, but heck, even the placebo effect is some comfort. And remember, the arc of history bends very slowly towards justice. It doesn't U-turn. It doesn't take a hard left. It doesn't take a hard right. And remember, the 5-second rule is baloney. It's not like bacteria are down there on the floor when you drop a piece of food saying, "Oh no, wait, look at the stopwatch. It's not 5 seconds yet. Wait." But also remember, if you drop an ice cube, it's okay to rinse it under cold running water and go ahead and use it. And finally, be humble. You're made of mud. Have faith in yourself. Be proud. You're made of stardust. Let's see if we can't go make this world a little better place.